Hey guys, um, I thought today I might do a little bit of a draw and chat with you while I just, do a little bit of a drawing and try to keep the vibes pretty calm and maybe just have a little bit of ASMR with some casual chatting about just art and some thoughts that I have as well as just, the process of this whole drawing. Nothing particularly crazy, just a little bit of a process video. Um, I wanted to try and chat over this just to see how well it would work to have a video with a little bit of audio in it and some drawing and kind of keep my voice lower. I don't know. But one of the things that I wanted to do with this video was I wanted to really kind of get up back on the horse of doing little square, kind of almost like collage style pictures. So the one that I chose this time was like a little strawberry girl with her little strawberry outfit. And really wanted to do like a cute little chibi and some strawberries and kind of just theme it around strawberries. So, yeah, that was kind of the thought process behind this one. Um, Definitely no revolutionary ideas. But I did go on Pinterest and find a picture that I'm not entirely sure who it's from, but I did save it on my phone. Let me see if I can find it. A little bit of a noise going on for you. So, when I initially found this, I have a little folder on my Pinterest that I call Create Characters, which are basically just the like fashion memes where it'll have different ideas for outfits. And whenever I saw those as like a thing on Instagram, I always wanted to just draw characters based off of them because one of my favorite things in the whole wide world is just creating characters. So that's kind of what inspired this specific strawberry girl. I'm having trouble finding the original version of this. Such a pity because I wanted to give credit while I was working on this. I feel like I never get them from the same locations. They're just like, I don't know how to explain it. They're usually just low-key little like art pieces. Anyway, so I basically just, oh, that's right, I saved it on my gallery. Okay, just a sec. I will find it in my gallery. For all of those iPhone users out there, is it called gallery for you too, or is it something else? You can comment that. Okay, I found the picture. But I don't know. Let me see. I'm gonna do a reverse image search on it and see if I can figure out what Instagram account it came from. Because I feel like, even though Pinterest is supposed to be giving credit to artists for like where the artwork comes from or, the idea comes from, I feel like they're really bad at connecting it back to the actual profile. So I'm gonna see if I can find it. Yeah, there's definitely no editing on this audio, it's just me looking. the idea was to kind of like talk like when I'm talking to a friend, you know? I have a lot of pauses. I'm definitely not editing it to sound better. Yeah, so I thought I might do that. Oh, checking back in on my progress on the video, it looks like I've actually started to draw something other than just the one girl, so that's exciting. On the topic of this drawing, drawing faces and eyes is like always my favorite thing. I spent so much time trying to figure out how to draw eyes that I like, and I've kind of settled as a blend between these two artists. Gretel Lutzke, I think that's what it is. I've never heard her name pronounced out loud. And then also Nanaki Pantsu. She's a Japanese artist. She works in mostly commercial art, but between those two eye types, maybe I'll just throw it up on the screen really quick. So these are Gretel's pieces. I really like the eyes that she has in these. I really like the like thickness of the line and how they're kind of like Disney, but they feel more comic, I guess, is the best way to put it. And I mean, she does work in the comic industry, so that would make total sense. And then by contrast, so one of the things that I really like about her eyes is just like how dramatic they are. Um, the way that she draws her eyelashes and like kind of shades it is really cool. And then now that I'm thinking of it, it's also kind of similar to Leslie Huang's. She also does a similar thing with her eyes. Honestly, it's kind of like a combination between the two. And I can't believe I didn't think of the fact that she also has very similar like types of eyes. Anyway, I spent a lot of time thinking about eyes when I was trying to figure out my art style. Yeah, it's. I may or may not have finally figured out what I want to do for my art in the last like 3 days. Because, like, okay, so I was sitting at a coffee shop and I finally took my sketchbook out in front of me because I knew that Ben's my husband, I knew that Ben was going to be at brunch with a friend for most of the morning, but since we only have one car, it was kind of either I could go and get coffee on my own and just like be dropped off and be at a coffee shop for a while, or I could stay home. And since I am an artist, I'm at home a lot, especially given the one car situation. So I finally sat down in the coffee shop and was like, I'm going to use this time of unfiltered excitement to be in a new coffee shop to do the thing that I sometimes hesitate to do, which is to just like kind of create a map of all of the things that I like. And one YouTuber, I cannot remember for the life of me who it was kind of talking about like basically making, in her case, I think it was a Notion board, but for me, I made a Pinterest board of the 3 artists that inspire me the most. And so I mapped out kind of like this, what about their styles make me so excited. And like, I don't know, just finally sat down and looked at it and kind of commented on each aspect and like not only how I want to like use those, but I practiced it, and then I also wrote out like weaknesses and where I need to find more materials to shape things. One of the things that I spend way too much time doing is collecting materials to learn things. So, for those who didn't know, my background is in history, and so researching is kind of my thing. It's also part of the reason why my bunny trails tend to be research adjacent. And so I kind of just spent some time researching all of these things, putting them together, and wrote out all of the weaknesses I have. You can actually see my sketchbook page that I wrote that on my Instagram, so I can just read it off. I would throw it up on the screen here, but like it's literally on my Instagram account, so, and it's literally not a big deal. So I'm just gonna pop over there and talk through it a little bit. So a lot of what I was talking about is that I need to improve on just painting skills in general. So a little bit about me, I really like loved and grew up on manga. And so I've kind of always thought of like black and white as the superior way to go for art. If I got tattoos, which I very much want, I don't want any color tattoos. I only want black and white. So teaching myself to actually embrace color has been a whole process, and not just sitting there doing my sketchbooks or like taking a pen out and just ripping some doodles and just, you know, drawing whatever with those, and to like actually spend time in planning and like trying out different things. As you can see right now, I kind of just wung it for like the pieces that I was doing, is specifically the chibi one that I'm currently working on in the video. I don't know, man. I work very quickly and I don't like being held up by planning things, but everything turns out so much better if I actually plan it. Anyway, going back. Painting is one of the things that I want to practice more of, and maybe I'll make some videos of me trying out some paintings. I've seen a couple of different artists, specifically like Little Star Nerd, her stuff, lots of painting, and like I am so impressed by her ability to paint things. I am nowhere near her skill level, but yeah, so that's one of my goals. And then another thing that was my goal is some non-human items. So your pretty things that you add for like accents, which you can definitely see the weaknesses of it in the drawing that I'm doing right now, because I drew some strawberries and some jam, and both the strawberries and jam are kind of like eh. Theoretically I could have made them better, but again, I like doing it all in one sitting. I think Sarah Tepes like mentioned that in one of her recent videos of like how she has no time to sit and do like a masterpiece that literally takes hours and like do it right. Instead she wants to do more like impulsive ones that like take a shorter amount of time, and that is absolutely how I function. I do not like sitting down and working on something for 8 hours and then like going, well, I'll go work on that tomorrow. I'm just very ADD. But something I also wanted to work on a little bit more was men. I like drawing girls and women and pretty things, and not guys. And so I've been trying to create like a little Pinterest board of like guys in an art style that I actually like. Because it's a struggle, man. I feel like guys are just never drawn well, and there are clearly attractive men, but I have no clue how to draw them. I just know how to draw cute, sparkly girls in cute clothing. I really like fashion illustration specifically. Also, on a similar note, that is a gaping hole within where I have skill level. The whole idea of drawing kids frightens me. Now, kids actually, I think, would be more closely related to the styles that I like, because I have seen so many cute pictures of kids illustrated in a way that like makes them look ethereal, especially since like one of my favorite artists when I was growing up, a lot of my inspiration for drawing in general was Cecily Mary Barker, as well as Kate Greenaway. Both are Victorian children's artists. If you are a fairy girl, then you definitely know Cecily Mary Barker, because she did like the fairies that were, well, technically they're Victorian fairy tales pictures, but they were, for our generation, kind of repackaged into the book Fairyopolis. So if you are familiar with that kind of stuff, then you probably are familiar with her as an artist. And I drew a lot of that as a kid. It's part of the reason, since I was very much a fairy girl and a princess girl. Not when I was really little, but like when I was 7th grade, 8th grade. I was really into that kind of stuff. So I really should be better at kids, but I'm not. And then the last thing I wanted to work on is hands, because like I can draw hands by themselves, but attaching them to a body is hard. It just it makes no sense. I know it like hands are the hard part, right? And like the forearms, those forearms are like literally straight lines or like slightly curved lines. And like connecting them should be easy, but like I always get the ratio wrong, and so it ends up being like huge hands on a small body. I don't know. I have a problem with it. One of the like sticky note drawings that I posted semi recently was for Princess Tutu, and I did a Hiru slash duck, and her hands are huge, like huge. I have a little bit more of a bearing on what kind of hands I want to draw, because like I like Disney princess drawing like hands. I don't like a lot of Disney styles specifically aesthetically, except for like maybe Sleeping Beauty. But I like the way that the princess's hands are drawn, where it's like very delicate and they're kind of like flicked up. I don't know. And I also like drawing nails on things. That kind of goes back to the previous artists that I was talking about, um, uh, Nanaki and um, Gretel, and yeah, all of them very much draw, honestly, just bodies. And they draw things really well. That's something that I'd love to learn how to do more of, is just drawing those, like the way that they draw proportions. Anyway, so those are things that I was writing in my notebook when I was at the coffee shop the other day. These are the things that I want to draw more of and just like get better at, because then I feel like my ability to communicate ideas that are actually in my head will be much better if I can get a grasp on how to draw other things other than like cute girls in outfits. I wanna have really pretty kind of like comic collage style art pieces, and I think those are really cool. I don't know, one of my first loves is comics in general, comics and manga, and so I want to replicate that. And then even earlier than comics and manga, I liked doing collages. And growing up, a lot of my art teachers said that collages aren't like real art. But I've been to so many art museums that have collages in their exhibits, specifically in their modern art exhibits, that I'm like, it's totally a real thing. It's very much an art form. I want to be good at it, and I want to incorporate collage artwork style as well as comic style, as well as some like cute fairy girl ethereal vibes into my artwork, but also fashion, but also a little grunge. It's a dilemma. Honestly, we're like 18 minutes in, and I have no clue on this planet what I even started out talking about. I guess that's probably the ADD kind of showing up. But something that I can say that I would absolutely talk about for a very long period of time is just like talking about people's artwork and like how they change over time, and like those really inspirational artists that just do their artwork in like such a unique way that is really inspirational. I'd love to just spend time like talking about breaking down things and like kind of showing how you can replicate different types of lines from these artists, and not like copying them. You don't want to copy these artists, especially if they're still alive. Like, don't copy their art, but you can absolutely learn from them, just kind of like how a lot of artists will do like master's studies, and they'll take like a piece of classical painting and replicate it in their own style as like a way of learning from the old masters, learning your light and color, as well as just like replicating the emotion. And I don't know, that's something that you can absolutely do by looking at another artist's work and just kind of deciphering what makes their art look so good. I'm really good at breaking those pieces down, where it's like, if you really like this artist, what is it that catches your attention about this specific artist's style? Maybe I'll do that in the future, where I can just kind of like break down different artists that I've liked, or if you guys comment down below like artists that you really like, we could do a little breakdown of like how to replicate certain aspects of a style, where it'll be like, oh, you like this person, well, you might like their color choices, you might like their line texture, you might like the way that they have their settings, you might like the fact that everything looks vintage, and kind of break those things down to like show you how to make those effects. Because the problem that I have personally is that a lot of those things like kind of jump around in my head, but it's hard for me to combine them. Because have you ever heard of what's it called? There's this inability to like picture things in your head. Let me just Google it really quick. Aphantasia. Okay. Yeah, I definitely have that. I can't picture a darn thing in my head. I have to have references for literally everything. So if you see me with my phone out, it's almost never because I'm trying to copy the work in front of me, but more like I just physically can't picture things in my head. And so what ends up happening is I have to learn how to break down different styles efficiently and then try to replicate it. It's part of the reason why like my sticky notes drawings are like so easy for me, because I can literally look at a picture and be like, okay, so this is how I have to do this line, this brush stroke, like this is how these connect, this is the key components of a piece, and I can take like pretty much any piece of art, at least if it's like mainstream created. I'm not going to say that I can create something hyper realistic in pen on a notebook, but like if you are just starting out and you're trying to figure out your style and you really like Steven Universe and you want to figure out how to draw those cute bean mouths or the curly hair or any of that stuff, like I can literally break that down because my brain, oh, I can't picture things. I have to learn how to like take it apart and put it in kind of like the blender and work on pieces. Anyway, the sticky note drawings, also off topic, but the sticky note drawings will continue to come. I hope to continue to make them so that they come out 5 days a week or so. Yeah, I'm gonna probably need to do some to get ahead of it, because otherwise I'm gonna run out of material to post. For those of you who are on this video because you've been watching my sticky note stuff, thank you so much. You guys are great. I love you. Anyway, I have to go and pick Ben up from work, so I'll be right back, and then I'll keep talking. So there might be a little pause. Well, by little pause, I mean I'm gonna pause the audio and then come right back and continue recording. Okay, so I'm back. Hello. It was definitely a little bit longer than just like coming home after I picked up Ben. It's definitely the next day. And it is lovely. It's rainy right now, which in Phoenix is kind of a rare treat to have some extra rain. But I figured I'd talk a little bit more about what we're doing in here. So I've got most of my initial sketch worked out. I initially decided to start working in Sharpies for this one, just because I really like working in Sharpies. I don't get to work with them very often, and I figured I could use my white gel pen to go in and make little strawberry seeds afterwards. It made the most sense, especially since, like, I wasn't expecting to paint over it, because I know that Sharpies have a tendency to bleed if they are next to any kind of water. Actually, kind of funny story about, like, bleeding Sharpie markers. So on Sunday, I got up a little early and did a little tiny chibi drawing. And while I was drawing, I decided to color it with Sharpie markers. And I forgot how much they bleed, and like the lines are just crazy. So if you happen to see my Facebook post, well, not Facebook post, my Instagram post, it was kind of it's kind of bled out, but I still think it's cute. I was looking at some kids, like, well, not actually looking at kids, but the idea of like little kids in a makeshift parade with like two balloons that they probably got incidentally from their parents, as well as just like a little wagon, and the like older sister kind of like bullying the younger brother into having his balloon and then tying her balloon on the dog, and that seemed like a cute idea. Anyway, maybe I'll throw that up on the screen when I'm recording this. But how are you guys anyway? I know that I've been a little bit rambly in this, but I figured cool vibes, chill vibes. I honestly don't know how streamers do it. They can talk about like literally nothing. At some point, I hope to be able to have that kind of skill where I can just kind of talk over these drawings and not be concerned at all about like whether I think people are bored of me or not. My husband really likes Ross Boomsocks, so especially his like League of Legends content. I know he's been doing some other stuff recently, but Ben really likes like his little chatty videos, and he can talk about literally nothing, and people will listen to him. And he seems like he does pretty decent job. Maybe it's because he's like Scottish. Scottish accents always help if you're gonna be just talking, because then people just enjoy listening to you, you know? I unfortunately do not have that opportunity. I just have an American accent. It's a little bit of Colorado and a little bit of Arizona, mostly Colorado though, especially since I was there from like when I was 5 all the way up through 2019, so I'd probably be like 25 or so. So 20 years of my life with a Colorado accent. You can always recognize a Colorado accent because we do not pronounce T's. And I was actually starting to notice that in my previous sentence about like accent. You don't hear the T like at all. I have some cousins that are from Zambia, and they said that Colorado accents sound like British accents, which is somewhat baffling to me because I don't think we sound at all British. It's just softer letters. Everything's very rounded out. So mountains turns into mountain, or account into account. Yeah, so if you ever come across a person who like drops their T's in literally every sentence, it might be a Coloradan. So, okay, so a question for you guys. If you were to have like a style of drawing that you were, that I was to start working on, like a type of fashion, like cottagecore or kawaii, or I know kawaii is just Japanese for cute, so it doesn't really mean much to specifically a Japanese person, but like to an American, it would be like a very specifically Japanese cute fashion style. Or like, my mind's going a little blank with ideas of like what kind of fashions there are. Why can't I think? Like clean girl, I guess. I feel like clean girl is like a remnant of the Visco girl from like a couple years ago, where like you look like you like got off a day of surfing and you have like the blonde hair and the water bottles and the shorts and baggy t-shirt. I feel like clean girl is like that, but like office appropriate almost, except for when they wear crop tops. I don't know very many offices that would allow you to wear a crop top. though I have seen it happen. I've been in an office where some girls would try to sneak it by, and they could get by with it because they're at their desks all day, and so nobody would know unless they stood up. And so all you gotta do is just like never be around people, just be at your desk all day, which is easily solvable if you manage to like exist right next to the bathroom and take your breaks in your office and have your own office. I say this because when I worked in social media, that's kind of what happened until I had a coworker. But I could kind of exist. So, what I'm saying is that if I really wanted to, I absolutely could have gotten away with crop tops in my office. Though, because we were kind of far away from the bathroom, but we were off in an office that was like way far away from everybody else. The only people who were even remotely close to us was our boss and his office, but he was usually out of the office like 80% of the time. We usually knew if he was in the office because he'd schedule meetings with us then. So, but he would always be out of town. Anyway, we could get away with that, and some of the girls in my office did actually do that because we were just, the social media / marketing department. I say social media / marketing because there was 2 marketing people and 2 social media people. And I do know that like marketing as a whole incorporates social media, but it was kind of 50-50. The 2 other people were doing print marketing specifically, like printing off flyers and stuff like that. That was definitely a period of time in my life that there's portions of it that I really enjoyed, such as being in a print shop was very nostalgic to me because I grew up around my grandpa who ran a print shop. My mom said that like the day after I was born, she went back to working on the family business doing print stuff, and I was just like right next to the printer as an infant. That's a testament to my mom's work ethic, as well as the fact that I always was around printers growing up when I was very, very little, like 5. Because when we moved to Colorado, we left the print shop behind, and so when we moved to Colorado, my grandpa went into kind of like a pseudo early retirement, and my grandma started doing real estate. So it was an interesting transition for the family, but to my understanding, it was probably good that I got out of Georgia because that's where I was born, was in Georgia. I don't have a Georgia accent though. My mom said that we were starting to get Georgia accents, and that was like the tipping point. We had to get out. I think Georgian accents are sweet though. They're kind of nice. There's something nice about the drawl of the South. Though I will say I am a little bit sad that I don't have a little bit of that. I don't know. There's like all these studies about how people with southern accents are perceived as less intelligent, which is deeply untrue. Obviously, it's just an accent. But I've always thought it sounded cool. I like a good southern accent. Anyway. We're truly rambling over here. Someday I'll stop calling attention to my rambliness and just talk, like pick a topic and talk a little bit more effectively. But today is not that day. Today I am just talking over my like little painting. Yeah. Oh, I just now looked at the screen and it looks like we're starting to do some red. So we have officially crossed the halfway point of the piece. Something that I intentionally did when I was setting up my sketchbook was I kind of like cut a line so that I could have not only the square piece but also have like a little tester. And in my head, I was thinking that it would be cute, like all of these artists that I see on Instagram with their little tester pages where it's like all cute and it's all the same color. But by the end of this video, you'll see that it's just like mostly brown. Because I was trying to get the girl's skin to be more like Latina, a little bit like a little darker, but not like dark, but you know, kind of like a olivey brownish color, which is quite hard to accomplish with the materials that I had. I was trying to do like a limited palette, um, and what ended up happening was it is a limited palette, but the entire palette kind of like became all consumed by brown. That's I feel like that's what happens with me and limited palettes. I always get the skin tones out of hand because I'm trying to like perfect it. In other news, I really like having a variety of skin tones in my art because I feel like it adds dimension to things, especially if you can choose something that's like a little bit non-traditional. So one of my favorite things to do is to do like black girls in cottagecore because I think that like the darker skin against the pastel colors is like one of my favorite aspects in the whole wide world. And it makes me kind of mad that black girls are never portrayed in cottagecore. Like it's really hard to find, and it's very very frustrating to me because I feel like there should be more of that. Anyway, I think that anybody of any color can really be whatever type of aesthetic they want. It actually makes me quite upset with the whole idea that like Tim Burton said, "Oh, like dark-skinned people don't fit my aesthetic," which is just wrong because like okay, so your people are dead. You can still have a dark-skinned dead person. That the dark-skinned people die too. White people die too. Um, I respect Tim Burton for what he's done for the art community, but as a person who's a big fan of like cute, sparkly things, he's never been my cup of tea. And I've had a lot of friends who have like really, really, really liked him as an artist and felt like very seen in his works. And I respect it. Kind of like in a similar thing to like the Harry Potter series with J.K. Rowling and that whole situation. Like the materials that she has made are really cool, but she herself can be kind of dubious, especially to groups of people that she is against, you know. But I think it's cool that we're starting to see some more variety in things. And I mean, like the Wednesday Addams TV show was done partially by Tim Burton and did have a more diverse cast. I am not entirely sure that it isn't mostly in spite of him instead of because of him, because the other person who was working on this one was oh, who was the other director? I can't remember. Um so Wednesday. Who directed it? So it's actually kind of interesting because when you look on, when you just Google the TV show, it does not have Tim Burton involved in it. It says that the writers are Charles Addams, Miles Miller. Charles Addams was the original creator of the comic series, so I'm sure that they're like tributing him because of like him creating the series. Miles Miller, Alfred Goh, Kayla Albert, and April Blair. I do not recognize. I don't recognize any of those names. Miles Miller. Who is that? Um. Okay, so Miles Miller worked on Smallville, Shanghai Noon, Into the Badlands, Shannahara. Okay, so all a bit more diverse. I'm not gonna say how much quality is there. I haven't seen actually any of them. And then Alfred Go, Into the Badlands. Oh, okay, so same shows. It looks like he works with the other guy a lot. And then Kayla Albert. She's known for other, like, kind of like, not gonna say cheesy, but kind of cheesy TV shows. Petals in the Wind, Flowers in the Attic, Confessions of a Shopaholic. And then Kayla, we talked about her. April Blair. Wow, she has like literally nothing on here. What? So I'm guessing that she's like new. Anyway, I'm just not seeing it. Where is like, where do we get information about who, where is he? Oh, music was done by Danny Elfman. The only reason I mentioned Danny Elfman is because my sister's like really into like film scores, so that's kind of cool that he worked on it. I'll have to let her know. Okay, so Tim Burton. Okay, so executive producers, but he's one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. One of 11 executive producers. That's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. um, huh. That's that's really interesting. Maybe this is how I do my videos. I find a topic and just kind of go down the rabbit hole. Um, it's just interesting to me that like Tim Burton was specifically pointed out as like being one of the big people working on Wednesday, but like I didn't get the impression that it was particularly like Tim Burton's others works. I mean, like obviously it involves goths and uses like some of the same ideas, but I never got the impression that it was particularly like him. Like I'm not getting the Edward Scissorhands, the Nightmare Before Christmas, the Corpse Bride, any of those types of styles of like it was a different feeling. This was more reality TV, and I feel like there was more people who were the writers that have a more reality TV background. Hmm. Anyway, huh. Oh, apparently there's a season 2. Well, that makes a lot of sense, especially how popular it was, as well as the like kind of cliffhanging. And by cliffhanging, I mean like I feel like it could be very much self-contained. I don't feel like it needs another season. You guys can debate me on that in the comments. Oh, there's my phone. I need to remember to turn off my phone when I'm recording these things because otherwise it's just gonna go off and be in there in the background. Speaking of Wednesday, I watched it with Ben, and a fun trivia fact that I have learned about my beloved husband is that he doesn't mind like a cheesy, cute, like school comedy thing. He actually really enjoys a lot of the same stuff that I do. I always associate him with more action, but for whatever reason, the like cheesy school comedies he somehow tolerates with me. Anyway, the reason that I bring him up is because he was like, I really like Enid. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he followed it up like immediately with, because she reminds me of you. And I take that as a high compliment. I would love to be associated with the rainbow werewolf girl who's a little different and's got fabulous nails. I couldn't get over her nails. Yeah, Enid and Thing were literally my favorite parts. Well, other than the bee kid, I do not remember his name. I feel like that's the thing that I don't know. Anyway, I like I do very much enjoy. Oh, did it freeze? Okay. Well, I do enjoy a cheesy like TV show, and it was definitely kind of like soapy reality TV show. Like kind of I keep saying vibes. I say vibes a lot. I've had multiple people point out how often I say vibes, specifically Ben's brother Nathan. Uh, I I embrace it. I am a chronic lover of the the vibes. So I just looked down on my screen and noticed that the video was not going anymore. And for whatever reason, it's definitely frozen and it is not moving forward. So I just set a little timer on my phone and it'll have a little countdown. So if there's a little vibrate that happens, it's my phone saying, "Hey, you should stop talking about nonsense." But anyway, so part of me wants to like research Wednesday a little bit more because I don't know a ton about it, other than the fact that I, like, actually watched it. I thought it was fine. See, like, one of the first articles that comes up is Wednesday review, how Tim Burton transformed teen TV with Wednesday Addams. 2 crisp snaps for Jenna Ortega. Just don't call her kooky. She prefers spooky. Okay. That's very, very headline-y kind of situation. I will say Jenna Ortega is easily one of the best parts of the entire show. Like, she really does sell it and does a good job. On top of the fact that, like her personally kind of looks a little spooky. Oh, that's my entire thought. Is there any news that I should have? Okay. Well, we've got one about how Jenna Ortega can't shake Wednesday Addams' influence on her personal style. Well, I feel like that makes sense. Like, if you suddenly have now been branded with a new identity, people are going to be always comparing you to your new identity, right? So it's kind of like how if you are an actor who's really well known for like one specific role, like Dante Bosco being known for playing Zuko, everybody's going to compare you or what you're doing to whatever previous media that you have done before. A fun trivia fact about Dante Bosco: I do not know him because of being Zuko. I know him because of American Dragon. American Dragon Jake Long, which I'm not sure if too many people in the audience would even remember the show, but it was on Disney Channel, and my sister and I thought that it had like an excellent premise and great like potential to it, but I think that it was a little ahead of the times. I think that if American Dragon came out in 2010, 2011, then more people would be down for it, but in 2004 it was a little bit early for that. Anyway, so that's kind of my comment on, like, I think that it makes sense that Jenna Ortega would be associated with Wednesday because she did a great job on it, and so people are going to be trying to scout her for similar roles. And it's also possible that if she has a personal stylist, that personal stylist is going to continue to be inspired by the character that she played, and just keep adding clothes that, like, are at least reminiscent of her role. I feel like that's happened. Well, like, I know Zendaya is kind of infamous for that, wearing different outfits that kind of match whatever the show that she's in. I know that she will usually just kind of like coordinate them so that it matches. I think that that's always been a cool thing about her specifically. I like her outfits. Zendaya is always looking absolutely like on top of it every time that she goes to different like award shows or premieres or something like that. But I don't know. There's also the potential that Zendaya just looks good in everything. I saw a video that was saying that nobody can actually draw Zendaya because she's just too ethereal. Nothing ever quite looks like her, which is kind of cool. I think that's a very impressive aspect of her. Like, she's got a personality to her that's very hard to convey in art specifically. I don't know how you describe that, right? Like, the intangible personality of a person, the kind of thing that makes them them. I wonder if there's other actors that are kind of like that. An actor that might be the antithesis of that, where like Zendaya has a pretty good like set type of personality. Actually, now that I think of it, no, she really doesn't. She's done a lot of different kinds of roles. Even just like looking at like Shake It Up as compared to Spider-Man, in which both roles she's kind of like in high school, very different like personalities. I was thinking of comparing her to like Meryl Streep, but Meryl Streep just like dissolves into a role, and I don't know if Zendaya does. You can always tell that it's Zendaya, but I mean, to some extent, most people, it's hard to shake that, especially if they're famous, that they're this person. I don't know. That's probably an unfair comparison, choosing like a veteran actor like Meryl Streep and comparing her to Zendaya, who's like in her 20s. But I think that it's kind of an interesting thought process that, I don't know, maybe Zendaya's turning into that. That would be kind of cool. I don't think we've had too much in the way of like black actors who have had roles into which like they are cast in extremely diverse roles where they are allowed and permitted to like blend into something and just like kind of chameleon into different things. For whatever reason, I think that it seems to be more common with white people, but also, I mean, more roles go to white people, and you're more likely to get cast in a feature that has more opportunity to it if you are white because of privilege and all of that. But I'm very curious if Zendaya could kind of like become like Meryl Streep in the fact that she can blend into different things. But like when you draw her, it's definitely like still her. And it's hard to capture that essence, if you will. I'm just excited to see what she's gonna do in the future. I wonder if she has any projects kind of coming out. Okay, give me Zendaya. No, I typed in Zendaya. I'm doing this one-handed, y'all. Okay. Wait. Is she more known for Euphoria than Spider-Man at this point? That's wild. I mean, I know Euphoria is very popular, and I have not watched it and will not be watching it for multiple reasons. Most specifically, the fact that it's on HBO, and secondarily, the fact that, because I don't have an HBO subscription, but secondarily, the fact that it's got a lot of content in it, and I'd prefer not to watch something that has like a bajillion sex scenes and like nudity and stuff like that. Um, Oh, there's some cute stuff though. I mean, like her and Tom Holland with like rings and jewelry, that's cute. Anyway, I like it. It's wholesome. I hope that they do well. I hope that they continue to be amazing actors and that they get along super well and that, yeah, that they don't break up. That would be cool. And that's kind of like the thing with Hollywood couples, right? Like they break up. I just hope that doesn't happen. That would be cool. I like seeing long-term relationships in Hollywood. What was I looking up other than, huh? I got a result for her music, and I'm kind of surprised that I don't think I've ever listened to her music other than like, the Shake It Up theme song, because I did watch a tiny bit of Shake It Up. It was at the very end of like when I was watching Disney Channel. And then we didn't have cable anymore, so I didn't really watch it. Oh, she's such a baby. She's 26. I say baby, I'm 28. So she's the same age as my sister. Um, hmm. Huh. Okay. Well, I don't have anything particular to say about her. I mostly am just like looking at her outfits now. um, so what should I talk about for the rest of this? I'll stop saying what should I talk about. I'll stop saying that at some point. But in the meantime, I'm an awkward bean, and I'm doing too many videos for me to not kind of just like gunshot it and try my best. Yeah, pretty much all of these are just talking about her wearing a ring with his initials on it, which is cute. Oh, that's the thing that I was going to look up. Okay, so I want to see who is the longest married couple in Hollywood. I don't know if there's a way to quantify that. But there is a Brides magazine that says 19 of the longest celebrity marriages. So let's do a little bit of research. Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks for 34 years. Paula Pearson and Denzel Washington. So they married in 1983. I wish this article would tell me how long is that? Am I gonna have to have like a calculator out here to just do some calculations on the spot? I'm not good at math, so I am not doing 2023 minus 1983. 40 years. Dang. Okay, so we have Victoria Beckham and David Beckham. 25 years. Cool. Congrats to them. Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. I know they have a little bit of controversy on there. But they were married in 1997, so I don't even need to do the calculations to say that's 25 years. So that's cool. Congrats to them. I hope their marriage is doing okay. Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. Man, Tim McGraw looks so different than what I thought he looked like. I am not a country person, so I am a little bit surprised what he looks like. Anyway, 25 years for them. Congrats to them. Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi. Yeah, they what does it say? 14 years of marriage, but they met in 2001, so like 22 years. And, you know, like gay marriage wasn't legalized until 2008. Beyonce and Jay-Z. No, I forgot that they've been married for quite a while. Okay. So, 2008. That's cool. Also, I know that she is pregnant again, so that's exciting. We'll be looking at their babies. I'm sure they'll be all over the news. Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew Broderick. Okay. 97. So another 25-year. And then Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze. They look like they're on Buffy together. Were they? No. It says that they met on I Know What You Did Last Summer. I thought they were on together. I guess it's just like all of the all the guys look exactly the same. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is always on at the gym. So I know what Sarah Michelle Gellar looks like, at least in the late 90s, early 2000s. Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats. Okay, I didn't know. I know who Alicia Keys is. Stop it. Messages. I need to just turn it off. 2008. Okay. So we've got another like 11 or 12 years. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. I did not know they were married. I know who Keith Urban is. I know who Nicole Kidman is. I did not know they were married. That is wild. I'm sure that anybody who's listening to this who's like up on celebrity relationships is aware of this and is just like, Abby, do you live under a rock? And the answer is probably, honestly. So 2005 for them, so like 16 years marriage. Jessica Alba and Cash Warren. Also, Jessica Alba is very pretty. I know her name, but I haven't like really watched anything except for the first Fantastic Four movie. But okay, yeah, 2008. Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem. 12 years, 92. Leslie Mann and Judd Apatow. 25 years, 1995. So that'd be 28 years. Meryl Streep and Don Gummer. I knew she was married. I didn't know the name of the person she was married to, probably because he's not controversial. But yeah, 40 years of marriage. That's great. Congrats to them. Emily Blunt and John Krasinski. That's great. I know who Emily Blunt is, and I know who John Krasinski is. I did not know they were together, but that's cool. So, 2008. Another, like,
Sorry, what did I just ask? What?
13 years?
Okay.
Salma
Yeah,
Hayek and Francois Henry Pilot? Hello?
It's probably gonna be time lapsed anyway, so it's fine.
I don't know as much about them.
Man.
But apparently married in 2009. Julia Roberts and Daniel Moder. Julia Roberts is much more attractive than him.
I'm in the game that
I'm sorry.
Cool.
Controversial takes, I guess. Anyway, okay. So 2002. Brad and George Takei. Why am I like this? I know that that's a very famous name. Why am I like this? Okay. 80s. Again, another gay couple. Okay, I feel like that list was not quite, like, a list of all of the longest relationships. I think it's just notable ones. And I just am under a rock. Because I don't really see all that much about people who've, like, been married for a really long time. I feel like that just doesn't make the news as much, you know? It just makes me happy when you've got people in this, like this culture of, like, people breaking up and getting married and then getting eloped and divorced and kind of stuff like that. It's nice to see some happy couples, or at least people who decide to stick it out. I'm looking at another one and I see Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell, and I love them. I literally follow them mostly because they are a very cute couple, and them, like, posting about their kids and, like, what they're up to is very cute. Anyway, okay, so we've got a little bit of about like 6 minutes left or so. Sorry, I'm just now, like, getting absorbed into the world of, like, long-term marriages in, like, celebrities. Seeing Alicia Keys again listed as one of the long marriages reminds me, when I was working at my title agency, one of the things that my boss was super, super proud of was the fact that one of their agents that is, like, connected to their to Premiere specifically was that Alicia Keys sold her house with Premiere. So that was apparently a very exciting aspect of the work. Obviously, I have not met Alicia Keys, and I don't think that my boss had either, but it's cool. It's cool. And I know that Scottsdale and, like, North Scottsdale, Greyhawk area is becoming very popular for, like, celebrities to go and kind of, like, hang out in. Probably because it is warm, and people don't expect famous people in North Scottsdale. I know that I've been to a couple of houses of some famous people. I am pretty sure, was it Tom Ford? He's, like, a director. Something in that range. There was a guy who's, like, a very famous director, and he had his posters up in his house, and I've toured that house. It was the largest house I've ever seen in my entire life. The recommended listing price was starting at $13K. Well, 1,330, not K, million, $13 million. A $13,000 house would be an absolute steal here in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, we could buy that. That would be a great house to buy. Maybe if we went back to 1950 and had a time machine, then we could buy a house for $13K in Phoenix, Arizona. But anyway, we saw this house that a director owned it, and his permanent residence is here. It's just in Greyhawk. It's in this area called Horseshoe Bend, which is where all the famous people and the most expensive houses in Phoenix, Arizona are. It's a gated community, so it's kind of hard to get in. But you do have the ability to just arbitrarily take a hike through that area, and you can see the houses, get pretty darn close. So that if you're looking for a place to see some celebrities who kind of hide out in places, North Scottsdale, specifically Greyhawk area, very much a place where a lot of them are. I personally haven't met them. I've met a lot of like baseball, football type of people, like stars who are famous for sports. I've met a lot of those people. My understanding is that some people like lose their minds about seeing them, but to me I'm like, who are you? Because I don't watch any sports. Unless you're like a mega star like LeBron James or somebody like that, where it's like they're really infamous for things outside of their sport. I probably don't know them. So I guess that makes me an ideal person to work with them because I don't know who they are. I yeah, I don't think I'd freak out if I met like an actually like very famous person. For the record, I used to say before working at Premiere, the most famous person that I had ever met was my local weatherman in Colorado Springs, Matt Meiston. If you are from Colorado and watched the weather from like between 2000 to like 2010, Matt Meister. There you go, Matt Meister. Then you might be familiar with the person that I have met. But other than that, I have not met very many in the way of celebrities. I have now met a couple of very, very famous baseball players, though, and a couple of very famous golf players, and I think like one soccer player, but yeah. I feel like a lot of them jump into real estate after their careers are over. It's weird. I don't know. It's kind of like they have like an in with all of the other famous people, and so they have the ability to sell houses. But a little secret that I learned is that all of these famous people who decided to like kind of pseudo retire and go into real estate, they're not very good real estate agents. That's my hot take. Hopefully I don't have somebody showing up on my profile saying that's just not true, but in my experience, they needed a lot of help to do things. I don't know. The likelihood of anybody from my previous work, like, listening to this is extremely low because I am not in communication with, like, any of them. Not because they're bad people, but because they're just, I don't know, different kind of person than me. Anyway, it looks like our time is up. So I hope that you have a great Wednesday, because we're posting this on Wednesday, and that you have an awesome rest of your week, and I'll catch you here next Wednesday. Bye, guys.